Hi guys, welcome back to Codemaster Coach, your medical coding tutor. In today's video, we're continuing our interview with Miss Jasmine Viales of Integrated Practice Solutions, and she's questioning me today about codebooks, electronic versus hard copy codebooks. Which do you prefer? In today's video, I answer that question for her as to my opinion, which one I prefer. So stay tuned. Also, don't forget to go to her channel, Integrated Practice Solutions, right here on YouTube. All right, guys, stay tuned.
Okay, so on to our next question. What types of recommendations do you have for people using coding books versus electronic coding? Do you have a preference, and what's the reasoning for that preference?
Wow. Now, let me first say that the electronic medical record has come a long way. Of course, I am one that I have to have my book. I love my paper book, and it's kind of like ebooks. People who can hold their little electronic book versus the actual paper books.
Right.
I'm one that wants the hard, copy or the paperback of a book versus the electronic device reading the books. And I guess it depends on the individual.
Mhm.
I also have my books. I have little notes and little tabs and little things in my book that I tend to be able to go right to.
Mhm.
But I'm learning that, there are others that can do the same thing electronically and they're just as quick. So it really depends on the individual, whether they go with the electronic book or the actual hard copy.
Mhm.
These hard copy books are expensive. So I don't know which one outweighs the others because as far as updates, every year, October 1, when ICD-10 updates, I can go to the CMS website to get the updates and then I have to print them off and I try to put them in my book
Mhm.
and I just found it so much easier to just order a new book every year. Whereas if I probably had an electronic version of the book, it would automatically update the book for me electronically and I wouldn't have to worry about putting the paper feeds inside the book. So I guess it really depends on the individual which route they go. If they're electronically suave, by all means stay electronic and use that electronic medical book, just like the medical record is where I was
Right.
going. I got so used to the paper medical record till now going to electronic. I've learned over the years to zoom through an electronic medical record and know exactly where to find what I need.
Mhm.
To be honest with you, I think that's helped me accept the electronic medical code books by working with the electronic medical record. Had it not been for an electronic health record or medical record, I probably could not use a electronic code book. I'd still be using my paper, but I'm learning to appreciate it.
Right. Yeah, I think that years and years of us only having the paper coding books,
Mm-hmm.
so it takes a lot of getting used to how to really navigate the same thing electronically. It's different if you're just trying to type in one code and specifically searching for the definition of that code or maybe any sort of rules around it. That's one element. But if you're really trying to code something as maybe like a surgical coding or looking at a surgical report from a provider, you have to know how to navigate. If you know how to do that in a paper book, it's challenging, I think, to really put the two together, like when you've got to go between the different areas of the book and then be able to kind of take those elements and put them together. I know that they've done a lot to bring the technology forward with the coding programs out there. I don't have a whole lot of hands-on experience with a lot of other tools outside of a couple that we've used, and they seem to be really, really helpful. But I also am not coding, so now that I'm
Right.
not creating an entire claim or coding for a provider. So that I think that it really depends upon the application. So someone even maybe a medical provider could be fine to use an online tool if they are very simply trying to just find something that you can search, a kind of a query-based search, just typing in terms and pulling it out, versus the provider really trying to fully like get in deep to the coding, they would have to have some familiarity in the manual practice first, and then how to then bridge that gap into the electronic version of it. So
Right,
yeah.
right. But they do have notes sections on the electronic, whether it's electronic medical record or the code book, where you can put your, like I was referring to, I have to put my little notes in there. I call them my little cheat notes. Even on the electronic form of the code book, there are areas where you can put your little notes in there. So the one thing that I was probably held off for using the electronic book because I couldn't put my little notes, now they allow you to do that.
Okay.
The software.
Is there any particular software that you recommend?
Good question.
Like
No,
Supercoder and a couple of other ones that are out there. I know AAPC has one that I haven't had experience in using. Have you used theirs before? The one that AAPC has?
I did. I played with that one. I love 3M Encoder. I love that one.
3M.
Optum UHG has the CAC, which is another electronic.
Right.
So between the 3M, I think is still top of the line. To me, will always be the top of the line as of today. I mean, it gives you so many edits, and it just flags you on a lot of things that you need to know, or oops, did you forget? It asks you a lot of questions that I like.
Okay.
But the 3M encoder is what I love.
All right. Well, we'll link that below, because I think a lot of people don't know. Maybe you're not familiar with 3M's encoder product, but that's really good advice. So we'll link a couple of those resources below.
Okay.